Joaquin stared at the scuffed linoleum floor, the fluorescent buzz overhead syncing with the thud of his pulse. Seattle had promised escape when he fled here 5 years ago, trading dusty horizons for fog-shrouded streets and the hum of tech startups where a Latino kid from the Panhandle could blend into the mosaic. He had built a life in this damp corner of the Pacific Northwest, scraping by as a freelance videographer, capturing weddings in Pioneer Square and corporate spots for coffee roasters in Capitol Hill. His camera had become his confessor, framing moments others overlooked, the flicker of a bride's hesitation, the raw ache in a groom's smile. But tonight, that same lens had turned traitor, or so they said. Elias Rivera, his cousin from back home, had shown up unannounced 2 weeks ago, suitcase in hand and eyes wide with that boyish charm that always masked something sharper. They were blood, distant enough for comfort but close enough for history to tangle like barbed wire. Elias, 25 and fresh from community college in Austin, had talked his way into Joaquin's cramped Queen Anne apartment with stories of chasing dreams in the city, needing a couch and a connection. Joaquin had let him in, memories of summer barbecues under mesquite trees pulling at him like an old scar. They were the only two left in the family who remembered Abuela Rosa before the cancer took her, her rosary beads clicking like a metronome over bedtime tales of saints and sinners. The first few days blurred into easy rhythm. Morning started with black coffee from the corner roastery, steam rising like ghosts as they scrolled job listings on Joaquin's laptop. Elias laughed at Joaquin's dry quips about Seattle's eternal drizzle, calling it God's way of keeping the vampires at bay. Evenings meant dive bars in Belltown, cheap IPAs and pool cues clacking while indie rock thrummed low. Joaquin felt the pull, that dangerous undercurrent he had learned to dam up years ago. Elias was all lean muscle from ranch work, sun-kissed skin, and a crooked grin that lit up like fireflies at dusk. But Joaquin kept his distance, burying the warmth in his chest under layers of casual banter. It started small, the shifts. Elias lingering too long after a hug goodbye from a night out, his hand brushing Joaquin's lower back. A shared glance over breakfast that stretched into silence, heavy as the fog rolling off Lake Union. Joaquin chalked it up to city nerves, the way isolation could warp blood ties into something unfamiliar. He had his own ghosts, after all the men he had loved in stolen moments, apps deleted before dawn, hearts left bruised but unspoken. Coming out in a family where machismo hung like smoke from a branding iron was a risk he had never taken. Elias, with his easy heterosexuality and tales of girls back home, seemed the safest harbor. Then came the camera. Joaquin had rigged a simple security setup in the living room months back, after a string of apartment break-ins made the news a Ring knockoff wired to his phone, motion-activated for peace of mind. It caught everything that night, Elias, 3 whiskeys deep, cornering Joaquin against the kitchen counter after a heated argument over nothing, a spilled beer, a misplaced charger. Words flew like sparks, Elias accusing Joaquin of judging his laziness, Joaquin firing back about entitlement. Then Elias lunged, not in anger, but in a kiss that tasted of desperation and bourbon, hands fumbling at Joaquin's shirt. Joaquin had pushed him away, gentle but firm, heart slamming like a trapped bird. Elias, no. We're family. This isn't. He had trailed off, the words choking on truths he could not voice. Elias had recoiled, face crumpling into rage, storming out into the rain-slicked night. By morning, the call came from their aunt in Texas, Elias, sobbing to her on the phone, claiming Joaquin had harassed him, forced himself on him in a drunken haze. The family erupted, texts from cousins, voicemails from uncles laced with disgust. Hes lying, Joaquin had whispered to his reflection that dawn, but the damage spread like wildfire through dry grass. Now, in the interrogation room, the detective, a burly guy named Harlan with a mustache like a broom bristle, slid a tablet across the table. Your cousin filed the report. Says you made advances. We need your side. Joaquin's throat tightened, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and regret. He thought of the camera, its unblinking eye in the corner, capturing not assault but a fracture, a moment where desire collided with denial, and one man chose to bury the other to save himself. Harlan leaned back, arms crossed. Look, kid. I've seen this before. Family gets messy, especially when alcohol's involved. But harassment? That's a line. Joaquin met his gaze, hazel eyes steady despite the tremor in his hands. He wanted to spill it all: the years of hiding, the ache of loving men in shadows, the way Elias' kiss had cracked open a door he had bolted shut. But words failed, as they always did. Instead, he nodded toward the tablet. "Check the footage. From my apartment. It's all there." The detective raised an eyebrow, tapping notes into his phone. "We'll get a warrant if we have to. But if you're stonewalling..." Joaquin cut him off, voice low and edged. "I'm not. The camera doesn't lie. Neither do I." As Harlan stepped out, leaving Joaquin alone with the hum of the recorder, he closed his eyes, rain pattering like accusations against the glass. Seattle had been his reinvention, a city of reinventions, where tech bros coded futures and baristas poured lattes with artful foam. But blood called louder than ambition, and now it demanded a reckoning. Hours blurred into a haze of paperwork and waiting. They released him on his own recognizance, the accusation too thin for immediate arrest without corroboration, but the stain lingered like ink on skin. Outside, the city pulsed under sodium lamps, umbrellas blooming like black flowers on the sidewalk. Joaquin pulled his jacket tighter, the leather creaking like a confession, and hailed a cab back to Queen Anne. The driver, a grizzled vet with a mariner's cap, glanced in the rear view. "Rough night? You look like you lost a fight with the weather." Joaquin managed a ghost of a smile. "Something like that." The cab wound up the hill, past Victorian houses glowing warm against the storm, their turrets like sentinels. His building loomed, a brick relic squeezed between glass condos, its buzzer echoing hollow as he climbed the stairs. The apartment door hung ajar, Elias gone, suitcase vanished, but the air still hummed with his cologne faint and mocking. He sank onto the couch, phone in hand, pulling up the app. There it was, the timestamp from last night, 1:47 a.m. He hit play, the grainy feed flickering to life. Himself in the kitchen light, pouring water, Elias bursting in, words slurring into fury. The shove, the kiss, the recoil. Joaquin's push, his whispered no. It was damning, but not for him. For Elias, it painted a portrait of projection, of a man grappling with his own shadows and lashing out to dim the light on another. Tears pricked Joaquin's eyes, hot and unbidden. He had always known this risk, the family law of stoic men who fixed fences and never spoke of feelings. His father, gone too soon to a heart attack at 45, had clapped his shoulder once after finding him with a boys' comic, saying only, "Be careful, mijo. The world's not kind to dreamers." Joaquin had buried that boy deep, emerging in Seattle as the videographer who filmed others' joys but savored his own in silence. A knock shattered the reverie. He froze, heart leaping. Through the peephole, a stranger, tall, red-haired, with wire-rimmed glasses and a notebook clutched like a shield. "Mr. Morales?" Riley Kensington, from the Seattle Times. "Heard about the arrest. Mind if I ask a few questions?" Joaquin's stomach twisted. The press already? But something in the man's green eyes' earnest, unflinching held him back from slamming the door. He stepped aside, gesturing wearily. "Make it quick. It's been a hell of a night." Riley entered, shaking rain from his coat, the scent of wet wool mingling with the apartment's stale tension. As he settled at the kitchen table, pen poised, Joaquin felt the camera's gaze from the corner, still watching, still waiting to tell its truth. Riley Kensington's questions came like rain, steady at first, then building to a downpour that soaked through defenses Joaquin had built over years. "So, walk me through it. Your cousin shows up, crashes here, and suddenly you're in cuffs for harassment." His voice carried the clipped efficiency of a newsroom vet, but his eyes, those sharp green flecks, searched not for scandal, but for story. Joaquin leaned against the counter, arms crossed, the footage paused on his phone like a loaded gun. "It wasn't sudden," Joaquin said, voice rough as gravel. "Elias. His family. From Texas. Needed a place while job hunting. I said yes because that's what you do for blood." He paused, glancing at the window where headlights swept like searchlights across the blinds. Seattle nights had a way of amplifying isolation, the city's pulse distant under layers of cloud. Riley nodded, scribbling, his freckled hand steady. 32, Joaquin guessed, with the lean build of someone who ran along the waterfront at dawn, chasing clarity as much as miles. They talked for an hour, the clock ticking past midnight. Joaquin skirted the edges, mentioning the argument, the pushback, but not the kiss, not the electric charge that had hummed between them like a live wire. Riley probed gently, sharing snippets of his own botched engagement years back in Portland, the way family holidays could curdle into minefields. I get it, he said, closing his notebook. Blood's thicker than ink, but it bleeds the same. As he stood to leave, he slipped a card into Joaquin's hand. If you want to go on record later, call. The truth has a way of cutting through the noise. Alone again, Joaquin replayed the footage, frame by frame, dissecting the micro-expressions, Elias' brows furrowing in confusion turning to fury, his own face a mask of shock and sorrow. Sleep evaded him, the couch becoming a battlefield of what ifs. Dawn crept in grey and unforgiving, coffee brewing like bitter medicine. His phone buzzed incessantly, texts from aunts in El Paso, uncles in Dallas, all variations on betrayal. How could you, Joaquin? He's just a kid. Pray for forgiveness, mijo. This shame on the family. He silenced it, the weight pressing like the low ceiling of his childhood attic, where he had hidden dog-eared magazines of men who looked like freedom. Work called, a distraction he clung to like driftwood. The shoot was for a local brewery in Fremont, capturing the brewmaster's ritual under industrial lights. Joaquin packed his gear bag, the cannon slung over his shoulder like armor, and headed out. The bus ride down Aurora Avenue wound past strip malls and tattoo parlors, the city waking in fits of honks and steam from grates. Fremont buzzed with its quirky pulse trolls under bridges, bicycle-powered art installations, a haven for the eccentric souls Seattle pretended to embrace. On set, he lost himself in the viewfinder, directing the light to kiss the amber foam just so. The brewmaster, a burly woman named Carla with tattoos of hops vines curling up her arms, clapped his back. You've got an eye, Morales. Like you see the soul in the suds. He smiled faintly, but inside, the accusation gnawed. By lunch, his phone lit up again, a voicemail from Elias. Cause, I am sorry. It got out of hand. But you crossed a line. We need to talk. The word slurred slightly, regret laced with defiance. Joaquin deleted it, but the pull lingered, a tether to the boy he had idolized as a teen, the one who taught him to skip stones on the Rio Grande. Afternoon bled into evening, the shoot wrapping under a sky threatening more rain. Joaquin dated to Gas Works Park, the old gasification plant, a skeletal guardian over the bay. He set up his tripod, filming the gulls wheeling against the Olympics, their cries echoing his inner tumult. The wind off the water carried salt and secrets, whipping his hair as he zoomed in on a lone figure on the hill, a jogger pausing to stretch, silhouette etched in golden hour light. For a moment, envy stabbed him, that ease, that unburdened stretch toward horizon. His phone vibrated. Riley. Hey, quick follow-up. Found something in public records. Your cousin's got a history, minor beefs back in Austin. Assault charge dropped, but whispers of anger issues. Joaquin lowered the camera, pulse quickening. Why tell me? Riley's laugh crackled through the line, warm as hearth fire. Because stories like yours deserve air. And maybe drinks. You free Friday? The invitation hung, tentative as a first frame. Joaquin hesitated, the park emptying around him, shadows lengthening like fingers. Yeah. The alibi room in Fremont. 8. Riley's yes came swift, laced with something unspoken. Hanging up, Joaquin packed away his gear, the weight lighter somehow. Back home, the apartment felt less like a cage, Elias' absence a hollow echo rather than a scream. Friday arrived cloaked in mist, the city's arteries clogged with weekend exodus. Joaquin dressed with care, dark jeans, a Henley that hugged his frame, boots polished against the inevitable puddles. The alibi room thrummed with craft beers and chatter, fairy lights strung like stars over wooden beams. Riley was already there, at a corner table, nursing a hazy IPA, his red hair catching the glow like embers. "You made it," he said, standing to clasp Joaquin's hand, the touch lingering a beat too long, electric in its brevity. They ordered flight samplers of sours and stouts and fell into conversation like old accomplices. Riley shared war stories from the beat covering queer rights rallies in the 2010s, the pulse of pride marches turning from protest to party. "I came out in college," he admitted, tracing the rim of his glass. "Mom baked a cake. Dad's still figuring it out, but Hez trying." "What's your story?" Joaquin sipped, the tartness grounding him. He spoke of Texas sunsets, the church steeples that judged more than they saved, the first boy he kissed behind a hay baler at 16, all fumbling heat and terror. As the bar filled, their knees brushed under the table, accidental at first, then deliberate. Riley's laugh peeled back layers, revealing a vulnerability beneath the journalist's polish, a recent breakup with a guy who chased LA lights, leaving Riley adrift in Seattle's gray. "Sometimes you film your own life too closely," Riley said, eyes locking on Joaquin's. "Miss the wide shot." The words resonated, a mirror to Joaquin's lens. They lingered until last call, the walk to Joaquin's bus stop, a meander through lit streets, shoulders bumping like Morse code. At his door, Riley paused, hand on Joaquin's arm. "Thanks for tonight. Feels good to connect." The air thickened, charged with possibility. Joaquin leaned in, their lips meeting, soft, exploratory, tasting of hops and hope. It ended too soon, Riley pulling back with a grin. "Well, talk soon. About the story. And us." Alone inside, Joaquin touched his mouth, the camera's red light blinking in the corner like a heartbeat. For the first time, the lens felt like an ally, ready to capture not just truth, but tenderness. But dawn brought reckoning. Elias text, "Coming back. We fix this. Family first." Joaquin's stomach knotted, the kiss with Riley a fragile bloom against the storm. He messaged Riley, "Footage ready if you want it. But brace yourself." The reply, "Send it. We're in this." As rain resumed its tattoo, Joaquin hit send, the file uploading like a soul laid bare. The truth was coming, pixel by pixel, and it would demand everything. The upload complete, Joaquin collapsed onto the bed, the mattress sagging under him like an old friend's shoulder. Sleep came in fits, dreams tangled with footage, Elias' face morphing from boy to accuser, Riley's green eyes flickering like film reels. Morning light seeped through cracks in the blinds, pale and insistent. Coffee brewed, he checked his phone. Elias had arrived in town, crashing at a motel in Sodo, demanding a meet at the Pike Place Market by noon. "Clear the air," the text read, but Joaquin sensed the undercurrent, the way family summons masked ultimatums. Pike Place teemed with life, the air thick with fishmongers' calls and the yeasty tang of fresh bread. Joaquin wove through tourists snapping selfies with flying salmon, his leather jacket a shield against the chill wind off the sound. Elias waited by the original Starbucks, leaning on a railing, his frame slouched in a hoodie that swallowed him whole. Up close, the toll showed dark circles under his eyes, stubble shadowing his jaw like regret. "Cause," Elias started, voice low, pulling Joaquin into a half-hug that smelled of cheap soap and anxiety. They walked the arcade, past flower stalls bursting with dahlias, the colors a riot against the overcast sky. Elias talked fast, words tumbling like loose change. "I panicked, man. That night. I don't know what came over me. Blamed you to save face with Tia Maria. She was on my ass about getting straight, finding a girl." He glanced sideways, cheeks flushing. "But you're solid. Always were." Joaquin nodded, throat tight, the market noise a buffer. He wanted to believe it, the olive branch extended like a truce flag. They grabbed chowder in bread bowls from a vendor, steam rising as they sat on a bench overlooking the water. Elias spooned his, gaze distant on the ferries cutting white wakes. "Back home, it's all expectations. Ranch life, marry local, pump out kids. I tried. Dated Sarah from the feed store, but it felt wrong. The admission hung, fragile as sea glass. Joaquin stirred his bowl, heart aching with recognition. I get it. Hiding parts of yourself. It's exhausting. Elias met his eyes, something raw flickering there. You ever? You know, with guys. The question landed soft, but Joaquin felt the ground shift. He set down his spoon, the bread crust crumbling in his fingers. Yeah. Since high school. Kept it locked down, though. Family wouldn't get it. The words escaped, a dam cracking after years. Elias nodded slowly, processing. Me too. Sort of. Experimented once at a party in Austin. Freaked me out. Laughter followed, nervous and shared, a bridge over the chasm. They parted with plans for dinner, Elias promising to crash on the couch again, like old times, no drama. Joaquin walked home via the waterfront, the Olympic mountains shrouded in haze, their peaks a reminder of distances yet to cross. Relief mingled with unease, the confession a step, but trust a steeper climb. At his building, Riley's text waited, watched the clip. Holy shit, Joaquin. This is gold and heartbreaking. Meet tonight? My place in Ballard. Riley's apartment overlooked the locks, where salmon ladders hummed with upstream determination. He greeted Joaquin with a beer and a kiss deeper than the market's tentative brush, hands framing his face like a director framing a shot. You're brave, Riley murmured against his lips, pulling him inside. The space was lived in, bookshelves groaning with journalism tomes, a vintage typewriter on the desk, photos pinned to a corkboard, rallies, weddings, a faded shot of Riley with a golden retriever pup. They cooked pasta haphazardly, sauce splattering as laughter filled the kitchen, the domesticity a balm. Over wine on the couch, Riley dissected the footage with a reporter's eye. See here? Elias' body language, its initiation, not assault. You're pulling away, protective. This clears you, but it exposes him too. You okay with that? Joaquin swirled his glass, the mellow dark as his doubts. His family. Hurting him hurts me. But the lie. It's poison. Riley set his wine down, shifting closer, thigh pressing warm against Joaquin's. Then let's frame it right. A story of reckoning, not ruin. You, the cousin, the camera as witness. Their talk wove into intimacy, clothes shedding like old skins. Riley's touch was sure, mapping Joaquin's body with reverence, the curve of his hip, the hollow of his throat. In the dim lamplight, Joaquin let go, gasps mingling with the distant rush of water through the locks. Afterward, tangled in sheets, Riley's head on his chest, Joaquin traced freckles like constellations. This feels real, he whispered, vulnerability a quiet tide. Riley lifted his head, eyes soft. It is. Stay a while. Morning brought Elias' call, voice edged with urgency. Something happened. Tears flying in tomorrow. Wants us both there to hash it out. Your place. Panic flickered, but Joaquin steadied. Okay. Well, figure it. He hung up, Riley's arm tightening around him. Need backup? The offer warmed, a lifeline in the gathering storm. The afternoon shoot was a blur, weddings in Discovery Park, bridesmaids in flowing chiffon against evergreen backdrops. Joaquin directed with focus, but his mind replayed loops, Elias' confession, Riley's touch, the family's impending judgment. Evening found him prepping the apartment, wiping counters, airing sheets, as if order could tame chaos. Elias arrived early, bearing tacos from a truck in the market, his smile forced but genuine. They ate on the floor, TV murmuring a mariner's game, the normalcy a thin veil. Conversation turned inward, Elias opening veins. After that kiss, I saw myself in you. The hiding. Thought accusing you would bury it. Tears welled, unashamed. Joaquin clasped his shoulder. We're both figuring it out. No more lies. The pact sealed with a clink of beer bottles, fragile but fervent. Night deepened, Elias on the couch, Joaquin in bed, when the buzzer shrilled. Through the peephole, Aunt Maria, flanked by Uncle Rule, faces thunderous. "Open up, Joaquin. We know you're in there with him." Heart pounding, he complied, the door swinging wide to confrontation. Maria, silver-streaked hair pulled tight, eyes blazing. Elias called. "Said you attacked him. We came to take him home, away from your filth." The word landed like a slap, Rubel stepping forward, fists clenched. "His family, but you? Disgrace." Elias hovered behind, pale, caught in the crossfire. Joaquin blocked the threshold, voice steady. "It's not what you think. Footage proves it." Elias started it, but Hez not the villain. "We're both." He faltered, the out unspoken. Maria sneered. "Both what? Sinners? God sees all." Rule lunged, but Elias intervened, voice breaking. "Stop. It's my fault. I lied." Chaos erupted, shouts echoing down the hall, neighbors peeking. Joaquin pulled out his phone, thrusting the video at them. "Watch." They did, frozen, the kiss playing out in stark pixels. Maria's hand flew to her mouth, Rule deflating like a punctured tire. Silence fell, heavy as judgment. Elias confessed then, tears streaming. "I like guys, Tia. Joaquin too." The accusation. "I was scared." Maria recoiled, crossing herself, but Rule placed a hand on her arm, eyes on Joaquin. "Blood's blood. But this? We need time." They left, trailing shock, the door clicking shut like a period. Joaquin turned to Elias, embrace fierce. "You did it." But dawn would bring fallout, the family rift widening. As Elias slept, Joaquin texted Riley, "Storm hit. Need you." The reply, "On my way." In the quiet, the camera watched, its truth a beacon in the dark. Riley's arrival shattered the pre-dawn hush, his knock a lifeline in the fog of exhaustion. Joaquin let him in, collapsing against the doorframe, Elias stirring on the couch with a groggy murmur. "Hez here," Joaquin said simply, and Riley enveloped him, coat still damp from the sprint across town, his presence an anchor in the roiling sea. They moved to the kitchen, brewing coffee in silence, the machine gurgling like a confession. Elias joined, eyes red-rimmed, the three of them huddled over mugs like conspirators plotting survival. "Walk me through it," Riley said, voice low, notepad emerging from his pocket. Elias recounted the confrontation, words halting, the weight of his admission to family a fresh bruise. "They looked at me like I was a stranger. Tia Maria. She's prayed over me since I was a kid. Now." He trailed off, staring into his cup. Joaquin squeezed his knee under the table. "They'll come around. Or they won't. But we're not alone anymore." Riley's pen scratched, capturing not quotes but essence the raw humanity of fracture. By mid-morning, the calls flooded in, cousins texting disgust, an uncle blocking Joaquin on social, Aunt Maria leaving a voicemail laced with scripture and sorrow. "Repent, both of you. This path leads to ruin." Joaquin deleted it, but the barbs lodged deep, reopening scars from youth taunts in school hallways, the church youth group where he learned to smile through sermons on sin. Seattle had dulled the edges, its progressive veneer a soft landing, but family cut to the bone. Riley suggested a walk, the three bundling into jackets and heading to Kerry Park, the iconic viewpoint where the Space Needle pierced the clouds like a needle through fabric. The hilltop bustled with dog walkers and photographers, the city sprawling below in wet gleam. They leaned on the railing, wind whipping words away. "This story," Riley said, turning to Joaquin, "it's bigger than accusation. It's about identity, the lies we tell to fit molds." Elias nodded, gaze on the sound. "I came here to escape that mold. Thought blaming Joaquin would let me slip back in." Joaquin felt the pull of Riley's words, the journalist's instinct to weave narrative from pain. But beneath, a spark kindled a desire not just for vindication, but for voice. "Write it," he urged. "Our truth." Riley's eyes lit, a pact forming in the misty air. They descended to a cafe in Queen Anne, pastries flaking as they brainstormed headlines, Elias sketching details with surprising eloquence. For hours, the table became a war room, laughter punctuating grief, the bond forging in shared fire. Afternoon brought work, a tether to normalcy. Joaquin headed to a client meeting in South Lake Union, pitching a video series for a non-profit aiding LGBTQ youth. The office hummed with young energy, rainbow flags fluttering in windows, but irony bit as he presented his reel clips of kids sharing coming-out stories, their voices steady where his wavered. The director, a non-binary artist named Alex with blue-streaked hair, leaned forward. "Your lens has heart, Joaquin. We want you." The contract signed felt like armor, a step toward claiming space. Back home, Elias had tidied, the apartment breathing easier. They cooked stir-fry, veggies sizzling as stories flowed childhood escapades, the time they stole Abuela Rosa's tamales and hid in the barn, giggling till dawn. Riley joined for dinner, the meal stretching into evening, wine loosening tongues. Under the table, Riley's foot nudged Joaquin's, a secret Morse. As Elias yawned and claimed the couch, Riley pulled Joaquin into the bedroom, door clicking soft. Their lovemaking was urgent, bodies mapping urgency born of crisis. Riley's whispers against skin, "You're enough, just you," dissolved barriers, Joaquin's release a sob of surrender. Afterward, curled together, Riley traced his spine. "The piece's article drops tomorrow. You ready?" Joaquin nodded into his shoulder. "With you?" "Yeah." Dawn broke with the story online, Riley's byline blazing, family ties and hidden truths, a cousin's kiss caught on camera. It detailed the accusation, the footage, the confessions, framing it as a tapestry of queer awakening in conservative cloth. Shares rippled, comments a torrent, support from strangers, vitriol from kin. Elias read aloud, the kind one's, voice thick. "Look at this, from a guy in Tacoma. Says it helped him tell his brother." But backlash brewed. By noon, Uncle Rubel called, voice booming. "You aired our dirt? In the paper? Neighbors back home are talking." Joaquin gripped the phone, steady. "It was our dirt, Tio. Time to own it." Rubel huffed, but softened. "Your abuela would have hated the scandal. But she loved fierce. Come visit soon. Both of you." The line went dead, a olive branch thorny but extended. Aunt Maria arrived unannounced that afternoon, suitcase in tow, face etched with resolve. "I came to see for myself," she declared, sweeping in past Elias' protests. She unpacked in the spare room, rosary clicking as she settled. Dinner was tense, her eyes darting between them, questions veiled in prayer. How did it start? This feeling. Elias spoke first, halting, of confusion in Austin, the kiss as catalyst. Joaquin followed, voice gaining strength, recounting hidden loves, the camera as unintended savior. Maria listened, tears tracing lines in her foundation. "I raised you boys on stories of saints who suffered for truth. But fear made me blind." She reached for their hands, circle closing. "Forgive me." The embrace was awkward, scented with lavender and old wounds, but real. As she retired, Elias whispered to Joaquin, "Miracle." Riley, arriving late, witnessed the thaw, his hug to Joaquin laced with pride. Night fell gentle, the trio plus Maria sharing wine on the balcony, city lights twinkling like absolution. But beneath, doubt simmered, Elias glancing at his phone, a text from an old flame back home flickering unread. Joaquin sensed it, the fragility of change, but pushed it down, focusing on Riley's warmth beside him. Midnight brought the betrayal. Elias' phone buzzed insistent, him slipping out to the fire escape. Joaquin followed quietly, overhearing fragments. "Yeah, I told them it was him. Keeps you safe, babe. No one knows about us." The voice on the other end male, pleading. Elias hung up, spotting Joaquin, face crumpling. "It's not what. Hes from Austin. I lied to protect him too." The accusation snowballed. Rage and hurt collided in Joaquin, voice a whip. You use me as shield again? After everything? Elias begged, tears flowing. I was scared. For him, for me. The argument escalated, words like shrapnel, Maria rousing to mediate, her pleas falling on deaf ears. Riley arrived at the commotion, pulling Joaquin back, but the damage etched deep a second fracture in trust. As Elias stormed out into the night, bag in hand, Joaquin sank to the floor, sobs racking. Maria knelt, rosary in hand. Heart heal crooked, mijo. But they heal. Riley held him through the storm, the camera in the corner capturing silent witness to yet another unraveling. The fire escape clanged under Elias' fleeing steps, the echo reverberating like a slammed door in Joaquin's soul. He remained on the living room floor, knees drawn up, the cool hardwood grounding the whirlwind inside. Maria hovered, her hand tentative on his shoulder, murmuring prayers in Spanish that blended with the distant wail of a siren. Riley knelt beside him, arms a steady cage, his breath warm against Joaquin's temple. Breathe, love. One breath at a time. Hours passed in fragments, Maria brewing chamomile tea, its steam curling like unanswered questions, Riley fielding calls from his editor, the story already morphing with aftershocks. Dawn painted the walls in bruised purple, the city stirring to its rhythm of buses and baristas. Joaquin rose, muscles protesting, and faced the mirror, eyes swollen, jaw set in defiance. The man staring back was no victim, but a survivor piecing mosaic from shards. Breakfast was solemn, Maria portioning eggs with mechanical care. He'll come back, she said, though doubt threaded her voice. Joaquin nodded, but inside, betrayal bloomed black. Elias' second line, not just self-preservation, but protection of a lover hidden deeper, revealed layers of deception Joaquin had glimpsed but ignored. I thought we were building something, he admitted, fork scraping plate. Riley squeezed his hand. You were. He just lagged behind. The day unfolded in triage. Joaquin cancelled shoots, citing personal emergency, the client's understanding laced with the paper's echo. He and Riley walked to a nearby park, into Bay's open fields, a canvas of green under scudding clouds. They sat on a bench by the train tracks, freights rumbling past like judgments. This is the crisis point, Riley said, head on Joaquin's shoulder. Where you decide if the hurt defines you or refines you. Joaquin absorbed it, fingers interlacing with Riley's. He spoke of boyhood dreams, filming sunsets over cotton fields, the camera his first love before men complicated the frame. Coming here, I thought I'd frame my life right. But family. It's the unscripted part. Riley turned, kissing him slow, the world narrowing to salt and stubble. Then rewrite the scene. With me in it. Afternoon brought therapy, a virtual session with a counselor from the LGBTQ Center, recommended by Alex. The screen filled with Dr. Lena, a black woman with kind eyes and a voice like velvet over steel. Betrayal from kin hits primal, she said, as Joaquin unpacked the layers. But your identity isn't the wound, it's the strength. Lean into community. Her words planted seeds, urging journaling, support groups. Hanging up, Joaquin felt lighter, the session a valve releasing pressure. Maria departed mid-afternoon, hugging fierce at the door. Call your uncles. Bridge the gaps. Her cab vanished into traffic, leaving quiet. Elias' text arrived then, at the motel. Sorry doesn't cut it. Give me space. Joaquin deleted it unread fully, choosing silence as reply. Instead, he and Riley dove into the story revision, Riley's laptop glowing as they added Elias' angle, a fuller portrait of shared struggle, minus the fresh sting. Evening led to a gathering. Riley called in reinforcements, friends from the newsroom, a couple from the center, all queer kin in Seattle's tapestry. The apartment filled with takeout, tie and board games, laughter, a deliberate rebellion against grief. Sam, a trans photographer with ink-sleeved arms, shared his own family rupture. Took years, but my sister's cake at Pride? Worth the wait. The night wove bonds, Joaquin emerging from shell, his laugh genuine by the third round of Cards Against Humanity. Alone later, Riley and Joaquin made love languid, exploratory, bodies conversing in touches that healed. "I see you," Riley whispered, entering slow, eyes locked. Joaquin arched, the connection profound, waves building to crest. In afterglow, plans formed, a road trip north to the San Juans, escape in island salt air. But sleep brought dreams, Elias' face pleading, morphing to his father's stern gaze, accusation unspoken. Week blurred into resolve. Joaquin resumed work, channeling pain into art, a short film pitched to the non-profit, vignettes of queer Texans navigating shadows. Elias' radio silence stretched, but ripples came, a cousin emailing support, "Read the piece. Proud of you both." The family schism widened, but cracks allowed light. Crisis peaked on a rainy Thursday, Elias appearing at the door, soaked and shattered. "Has gone," he choked, meaning his Austin lover. "Dumped me when the story hit. Said the risk was too much." Joaquin stepped aside, no embrace, but space. "You chose lies over us." Elias entered, dripping on the rug, words pouring, the boyfriend's closeted fear, the accusation as dual shield, crumbling now. "I lost him, and you. Fixable." Riley, home early, mediated from the kitchen, tea steeping. "Truth first," he insisted. Elias nodded, pulling out his phone, dialing the lover on speaker. The call connected, voice tinny. "Elias? It's out there now." Confession followed, Elias' voice breaking, "I lied to protect you. But it broke everything." Silence, then click. Elias crumpled, Joaquin catching him, the hug inevitable. Forgiveness wasn't absolution, but start. They talked till midnight, Maria on video from Texas, her counsel a bridge. Saint stumbled too. Elias stayed, couch his penance, the apartment a fragile haven. But external storm brewed. A tabloid pickup twisted the story sensational, headlines screaming, "Cousin incest scandal rocks Seattle." Trolls swarmed socials, slurs a digital gauntlet. Joaquin unplugged, focusing on Riley, whose own outlet demanded balance. "Feel fade," he soothed, but doubt shadowed his eyes. The breaking came at a family Zoom, orchestrated by Maria. Uncles, aunts, cousins pixelated, faces a gallery of judgment and curiosity. Rule spoke first, we read. "Hurt. But you're ours." Elias apologized raw, Joaquin following, "I'm gay. Always was. Camera just showed it." Questions tumbled, tears flowed, not all forgiveness, but dialogue dawn. Healing hinted in smalls, Elias' job at a cafe, Joaquin film greenlit. With Riley, nights deepened, love a steady edit. Yet, as autumn leaves turned, Joaquin wondered if truthful reveal would bind or break anew. Autumn in Seattle draped the city in russet and gold, leaves skittering like confetti across sidewalks, but the chill seeped deeper than weather. Joaquin woke to Riley's side of the bed empty, the scent of his cologne lingering like a promise. Coffee perked in the kitchen, Elias already gone to his shift at the cafe, the apartment quiet save for the hum of the fridge. Joaquin checked his email, the film contract finalized, principal photography starting in 2 weeks. A win, hard-earned, but the tabloid echo still buzzed in his periphery, anonymous messages popping like weeds. Riley emerged from the shower, towel slung low, droplets tracing his chest. "Morning, director." He leaned in for a kiss, coffee mug warm in hand. Joaquin pulled him closer, the moment a brief reprieve. "Read the updates?" Some rags twisting it into soap opera. Riley's jaw tightened, but he shrugged. "Let them. Your truth stands." They ate toast standing, planning the day, Joaquin scouting locations in the U District, Riley chasing leads on a corruption piece. Normalcy, pieced together. The U District thrummed with student energy, University of Washington's campus a sprawl of ivy-clad halls and quad frisbee games. Joaquin filmed test shots near the cherry blossoms, bare now but poised for spring fury, his Canon capturing the interplay of light on brick. A group of film majors paused, eyeing his setup. "Pro?" one asked, a lanky kid with a man bun. Joaquin nodded, sharing tips on framing emotion. "It's not the gear," he said. It's seeing the unspoken. Their admiration stirred something paternal, a glimpse of legacy beyond blood. Lunch at a falafel joint brought Elias text, "Rough morning. Customer recognized me from the story. Tips dried up." Joaquin replied quick, "Hang in. Shift end soon." The response, thumbs up. Back home, Elias arrived deflated, uniform smelling of grease. "Feels like scarlet letter," he muttered, sinking onto the couch. Joaquin joined him, no platitudes. One day at a time. "Remember Abuela? She'd say, ponte las pilas. Get your batteries charged." They walked to the market, procuring ingredients for pozole, a recipe from memory. The kitchen filled with hominy bubbling, chilies toasting, the ritual a tether to roots. Riley joined, chopping cilantro with precision, his presence domestic anchor. Over bowls steaming, conversation turned to futures, Elias eyeing night classes in graphic design, Joaquin dreaming festival submissions, Riley hinting at a book queer narratives in the heartland. Night brought the camera revelation full circle. Joaquin reviewed raw footage from the apartment, months archived, spotting patterns, Elias solitary moments, pacing with phone, whispers to his lover, his own entries, weary after shoots, sketching storyboards in margins. "It's all here," he marveled, showing Riley. "Our documentary, unintended." Riley's eyes sparked. "Collaborate? Your eye, my words." Elias perked. In. Redemption arc. But crisis crested unexpected. A call from Texas, Uncle Rule, voice grave. "Your tia Maria. Stroke. Last night. She's stable, but wants you boys here. Now." Panic surged, flights booked frantic, the trio packing in whirlwind. Airport limbo tested nerves, Elias fidgeting, Joaquin staring out at tarmac lights, Riley squeezing his hand. "She's fighter," Riley soothed. "Like you." Dallas heat slapped on landing, a dry oven after Seattle's damp embrace. The rental car sped west to El Paso, landscape shifting from flat sprawl to rugged mesas, memories flooding, childhood drives, Abuela in passenger seat singing rancheras. Hospital loomed sterile, Maria in bed, tube snaking, but eyes brightening at their entrance. "Misbehaving again," she rasped, hand extending. Elias choked on tears, Joaquin kissing her forehead, Riley hanging back respectful. Vigil settled, family filtering in, cousins tentative, Rule gruff but tender. Whispers circled the story, but Maria's presence commanded grace. "No more secrets," she whispered to Joaquin that night, monitors beeping soft. "Love who you love." "I do." The absolution washed, tears silent. Elias confessed bedside his full heart, the Austin Manor chapter closed, Maria nodding. Hearts expand, mijo. Days blurred in hospital rhythm, cafeteria coffee bitter as regret, family meals strained but thawing. One evening, Rule pulled Joaquin aside in the parking lot, sunset bleeding orange over desert. "I was wrong. Blamed you to avoid seeing myself young. Had feelings once, buried deep." The revelation stunned, uncle to nephew, a chain unbroken. "Welcome home," Rule added, clap on shoulder solid. Elias mended ties, helping with ranch chores during waits, calluses reforming on hands soft from city life. "Fit's different now," he admitted, forking hay. Joaquin filmed snippets, the lens turning home into art. Riley documented quietly, notes for the book, his quiet support a constant. Maria rallied, discharged to the ranch house, her room a shrine of saints and photos. Recovery meant stories, her own youth, a forbidden crush on a vaquera in the fields, silenced by convention. Regret teaches, she said, rosary idol. The trio extended stay, Seattle a distant hum, bonds reforging in dust and dawn. Betrayal echoed faded, but lesson lingered, identities layered, truths multifaceted. Back in Seattle, airport kiss with Riley fierce, Elias hugging tight. "Changed me," he said. Joaquin nodded, camera bag heavy with new reels. Home greeted with mail pile, a festival acceptance for the short. celebration at the alibi, friends toasting, the circle wider. But in quiet, Joaquin edited the apartment footage into montage, kiss, accusation, confession, healing. Our Truth, he titled, screening for Riley and Elias. Tears, hugs, the rumor light. Yet, deeper crisis loomed unspoken, Riley's job offer from New York, a career leap whispered over wine. Think on it, he urged, but doubt ceded. Joaquin lay awake, city rain pattering, wondering if love could frame distance. Winter crept in on Seattle's heels, frost etching windows like lace, the short days a cocoon for introspection. Joaquin threw himself into the film, scouting Cascades locations where evergreens bowed under snow, his crew a tight-knit band of U-District hopefuls. The narrative evolved, interwoven tales of queer youth, inspired by his rift, Elias contributing scripts from cafe naps. Riley's New York shadow loomed, interviews stacking, but he delayed decisions, nights wrapped in Joaquin like delay tactic. Elias thrived subtly, design classes sparking portfolio, a mural commission for a Capitol Hill coffee shop blooming under his brush. Feels like coming out twice, he joked over family dinners, Maria video calling weekly, her recovery a slow bloom of hybrid teas in her garden. Proud of my boys, she'd say, eyes crinkling, the ranch behind her a backdrop of healing. One February evening, snow dusting the sound, Riley cooked risotto, candles flickering against the chill. Joaquin entered to the aroma, shedding boots, sensing tension in Riley's stiff shoulders. Offer came formal, Riley said, plating with care. Managing editor, queer desk. Big. Joaquin sat, fork pausing. And? Riley's gaze met his, green depth stormy. I want it. But you. Us. The conversation stretched, words careful as tightrope. Joaquin spoke of roots newly planted, the film premiering local in spring, Elias needing stability. Long distance? Possible, but painful. Riley nodded, tracing his hand. Shuttle weekends, write remotely. Or come with. The invitation hung, New York's siren call clashing with Seattle's harbor heart. Joaquin leaned in, kiss salt-edged. Need time. Were worth it. Spring unfurled tentative, cherry blossoms defiant against lingering rain. The film shoot wrapped in the San Juans, ferries cutting to islands where deer grazed roadsides. Joaquin directed a pivotal scene, two cousins reconciling on a bluff, wind-whipping dialogue of forgiveness. Elias played cameo, his natural vulnerability stealing frames. Wrap party on the dock featured bonfire and brews, crew toasting to truths revealed. Riley filmed B-roll, his lens on Joaquin tender, capturing laugh lines in firelight. Premiere night at SIFF Cinema buzzed, marquee glowing unseen frames, stories from the shadows. Family streamed in, Maria flown up, Rubel beside her, Elias beaming in button-down. Riley's colleagues filled rows, support palpable. As lights dimmed, Joaquin's film unspooled, raw interviews, animated interludes, the apartment footage anonymized but potent. Gasps, sniffles rippled, the kiss moment edited poetic, accusation dissolving into embrace. Q&A followed, moderator probing, personal fuel. Joaquin stood, spotlight warm. Family betrayal, but more redemption. My cousin here, gesture to Elias, my partner, not to Riley, showed camera lies only if you let it. Applause thundered, Maria dabbing eyes, Rubel clapping thunderous. After party at a Belltown loft swirled with accolades, agents circling, but Joaquin sought quiet balcony with Riley. City sprawled, Space Needle pulsing red. Accepted the job, Riley confessed. But here's the thing, I'll commute till you decide. Joaquin turned, heart full. Decided. Stay. Build here. Kiss sealed it, deep and declarative, snowflakes melting on skin. Months wove forward, summer sun gilding the sound. Elias debuted mural, vibrant queer icons against brick, unveiling with speech halting but heartfelt. This is me. Us. Joaquin filmed, Riley byline in the Times praising. Family visits normalized, Texas barbecue via Zoom, Maria matchmaking half-joking for Elias. Crisis-crested final in 4, Elias lover resurfacing email apologetic, seeking amends. Saw the film. Inspired. Meet up at the park yielded closure, no rekindle, but peace. You were right to protect, Elias told Joaquin after. Just wrong way. Joaquin's feature expanded, festival circuit calling, Riley co-producing, their life a shared reel. Evenings meant home, cooking paella, walks along the locks, salmon leaping as metaphor. Identity, once shadowed, now lit, Joaquin out fully, family patchwork but embracing, Seattle canvas broad. One crisp October Eve, anniversary of the accusation, they gathered apartment balcony, city aglow. Maria sent wine from Texas, Elias toasting to cameras and cousins. Riley pulled Joaquin aside, ring box subtle. Marry me? Frame our forever. Tears pricked, yes breathless. Hugs enveloped, the circle complete. Years later, vows exchanged in Discovery Park under evergreens, family mingled with Chosen, the film Oscar-nominated. Joaquin Morales, once accused, now storyteller, new truths worth revealing built worlds anew. Love, in all frames, endured.